Monaco comes into Rascasse. He's a hero, Ayrton Senna, won this race 6 times. In 2019, he's a 3-time winner in Monaco. Hamilton wins on the streets of the Principality and becomes the king of Monaco.
So after a thrilling Monaco Grand Prix, Lewis Hamilton is victorious once again in 2019 and on the streets of Monaco. Welcome to the Grand Review podcast. Formula 1 moves away from Spain then and onto the Principality of Monte Carlo for round 6 of the season, and what a place to race in the streets of Monaco. Round 6 of the season, as we say here, 2 weeks time we're in Canada for the Canadian Grand Prix before the 3 back-to-back Europes of France, Austria, then it's the British Grand Prix, the halfway stage of the season, Germany and Hungary before the summer break, then Belgium and Italy wrap up the European season, then we go to Singapore, Russia, Japan, and then the Americas of Mexico, United States and Brazil before wrapping up in the desert of Abu Dhabi on the 1st of December. It's Lewis Hamilton that leads the Drivers' Championship after winning in Bahrain, China and last time out in Spain. Teammate Valtteri Bottas is second on 105 points, winning in Australia and Azerbaijan. Crucially, if Bottas wins here and Hamilton is second, they will be level on points. Meanwhile, Verstappen is still ahead of Vettel, and not to score any points, Giovinazzi, Russell and Robert Kubica. It's been a poor season so far for those 3 drivers. And in terms of the Constructors' Championship, Mercedes winning 5 Grand Prix in a row to start the season. 1-2s for each of their drivers, a new record in Formula 1. Every team has scored points, bar the Rocket Williams Racing. It's Mercedes, Ferrari, Red Bull, McLaren and Racing Point the top 5, from Haas, Alfa, Renault, Toro Rosso and then the Williams in 10th. Hello everybody and welcome to the Grand Review podcast for the 2019 Monaco Grand Prix, round 6 of the 2019 season. And it all started with sorrow news that on Wednesday morning, because everything's moved a day in advance, we have the press conference on the Wednesday. It was with sad news with the announcement of the tragic death of Niki Lauda, who passed away in his sleep at a hospital. And the drivers and the entire Formula 1 paddock very much affected by that news. This is what the drivers had to say on Wednesday.
Valtteri Bottas stood in for Lewis Hamilton, who was excused of his media duties quite understandably. He was alongside Charles Leclerc, Max Verstappen, Robert Kubica and Daniel Ricciardo. And obviously, this is what Valtteri Bottas had to say. Obviously, really, really shocking news to start the week. For sure, he meant a lot to me, but for every single team member of ours, in the race team and at the factory, he was a big part of the Mercedes family. He was a massive motivation for everyone, for myself as well, for sure. As a driver, because of everything he achieved, and with the difficult career he had, and all the comebacks and everything, but also as a person, it's been great. And never forget many, many good moments. And for sure, it's not nice terms of mindset for the weekend, but I'm sure as a team we can turn it into a strength and respect Niki by going flat out on the track and bringing a good result. That was from Valtteri Bottas. Robert Kubica continued on and said, as Valtteri said, it's shocking news. He wrote a big chunk of the story of this sport, not only as a driver, but as a person as well. I never had the opportunity to work with him, but definitely he was a big racer and all of us will miss him. At least my personal hopes were to meet him back in the paddock, but unfortunately this will not happen. That's unfortunately part of life. Max Verstappen agreed. Niki was a legend of the sport. He achieved a lot in his career, but also after his career he was always a very generous and funny guy as well. Of course, I've never really worked with him, but with the chats we had, he's been a great guy, and for sure it's a big loss to Formula 1, so all our thoughts go out to his friends and family right now. Daniel Ricciardo was asked, Nicky was in and out of Red Bull motorhome a lot when you were there. Any memories of Nicky that you have? And Daniel Ricciardo said, only good ones, for sure. Any interaction I had with him, any brief chats or just pleasantries, just a kind man. Most of the world that follows motorsport knows him as the racer for sure, and everything he went through, which was astonishing to say the least. But my personal moments with him were always kind. For a few years we were competitors, but yeah, never a bad thing to say. As the guys just touched on, thinking of his family, the legacy he leaves is pretty amazing, and for sure we remember these good things. Charles Leclerc. I didn't have too many chances to speak to Nicky, but the very few times I have been speaking with him, he's been extremely nice to me, and was always very disposable. He said, is that the right word? But what he actually meant to say was available. So he's always very available to chat, and also very humble for what he achieved. He's a great example for the sport in general, and he will be missed a lot as well.
Tragic news about Niki Lauda. He really was one of the greatest drivers in Formula One's history. But we move on and raced this weekend in memory of him, and it all started on Thursday with the traditional Thursday running of the 2 practice sessions. Here's what happened in free practice 1. Let's take a look then at the first practice review, where the top 3 were separated just by 1/10 of a second. Hamilton, Verstappen and Bottas. Hamilton won 12.106, Verstappen second, Bottas third, Leclerc fourth, and Sebastian Vettel in 5th place. As running began on Thursday in Monaco, Lewis Hamilton, as I said, led, but surprisingly, it was just by 0.059 of a second, so 0.05 of a second. That is incredible pace around Monaco. His teammate, though, Lewis Hamilton's, Valtteri Bottas, incredibly close to the Finn, ending up just 0.072 seconds off the pace. An incredible performance in Monaco for everybody. Local hero Charles Leclerc appearing on the streets he grew up in for the first ever time as a Ferrari driver. Was his team's leading driver in 4th place. He was 0.361 seconds off the pace. Teammate Sebastian Vettel was 5th, ahead of the second Red Bull driver of Pierre Gasly. Nico Hülkenberg led the midfield charge for Renault as the German impressed to end up with 1/10 of a second of Gasly's time, suggesting that the top 3 teams might have to watch their backs in qualifying if they want to prevent one of the midfield teams of Renault and Haas and Racing Point jumping up the order. We'll keep an eye on that as well. FP1 was littered with small errors as the drivers got their eye in on the circuit. There's still green Monaco track, of course, because they only race around it once or twice a year. Formula E as well race around it just beforehand, and then we get the running order as well for Formula 1 just 2 weeks later. So, particularly, Turn 1 at Sainte Devote seemed to be the issue. With the runoff area, the likes of Sebastian Vettel and Valtteri Bottas, Lando Norris and Lance Stroll all going off during the session down at Turn 1 of Sainte Devote, named Sainte Devote because just after there's a little chapel as well. As we've got a fly in front of me, so I apologise for that as well, for wafting it away. Honestly, we're outside in an outdoor studio, and I wish you could see it because it's like it's Monaco's traffic jam just outside our studio. It's unbelievable. So another fly gets battered away. It's summer and it's raining, so I'll give you an expect. So yeah, elsewhere, Verstappen ran on at Mirabeau. Gasly did well to keep his RB15 out of the barriers at the swimming pool as he saved a massive snap there. Well, luckily Robert Kubica span his Williams FW42 out of Casino Square sideways, knocked off the front wing just ever so slightly, but it was able to get back to the pit lane as well. Now, just 10 minutes into the session, bizarrely, there was 2 black flags. Romain Grosjean, car 8, and Kevin Magnussen, car 20, were given black flags, and we could not have an idea of what that was for until later on when we spoke to Gunther Steiner, because apparently the team had lost all telemetry and radio contact with the drivers and they weren't seeing the pit boards. So it was unsafe to leave them out there with no information on the car and no pit to shore radio. So Gunther Steiner asked the race director, Michael Masi, to black flag them and come back in and get it gone again as soon as the problem was fixed. So, interesting solution for them. But a black flag for the first time since 2007, when Giancarlo Fisichella and Felipe Massa left the pit lane under safety car and got black flag for it. Down in McLaren, it was a tough start to the weekend for Carlos Sainz, as he spent the majority of the session sat at the back of the garage as the mechanics struggled to fix a power unit issue. At a circuit where track time is premium, it wasn't the ideal for the Spaniard to get his Thursday running underway, although he's eventually made it out right at the end of the session just before finishing in 20th, ahead of the racing point of Lance Stroll. So, let's take a look at the times for Thursday FP1. So Lewis Hamilton topped the first practice session at 1:12.106, Max Verstappen second at 1:12.165, Valtteri Bottas third at 1:12.178, Charles Leclerc fourth at 1:12.467, Sebastian Vettel fifth at 1:12.823, Pierre Gasly sixth on a 1:13.171, followed by Nico Hülkenberg in seventh at 1:13.227, Kevin Magnussen eighth on 1:13.232, Kimi Räikkönen ninth at 1:13.363, Romain Grosjean in 10th at 1:13.379, Daniel Ricciardo 11th at 1:13.413, Antonio Giovinazzi is 12th at 1:13.437, Danny Kvyat 13th at 1:13.731, Alexander Albon 14th at 1:13.827, Lando Norris 15th at 1:14.278, Sergio Perez 16th at 1:14.566, George Russell 17th at 1:15.115, Robert Kubica 18th at 1:15.514, Lance Stroll 19th at 1:16.135, and Carlos Sainz in 20th at 2:670. So Lewis Hamilton was fastest overall in FP1, a strong session for him. Looking back, Verstappen was a bit of a surprise. So was Bottas, Leclerc, Vettel, the top five, Gasly P6. So still the top five. No one surprising us in Monaco so far. But it was very much a session of picking the right part of the track to attack. I mean, Monaco is very difficult, and one mistake could wreck your entire weekend. But fortunately, FP2 proved to be the race runs and proved that Mercedes were still the top dog at Monte Carlo. Here's what happened on Thursday's Practice 2. So here's the free Practice 2 report then from the Monaco Grand Prix. And once again, Lewis Hamilton heads Valtteri Bottas as Mercedes edge ahead of opposition in Monaco. Free Practice 1 was nip and tuck between the two Mercedes of Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas, as the Red Bull of Max Verstappen was gaining on them. But come FP2, it was an all-Mercedes affair, as the Silver Arrows finished over 7/10 clear of their nearest rivals following the session's qualifying simulations. And just to put that into perspective, Lewis Hamilton on 1:11.118, Valtteri Bottas second, Sebastian Vettel third, Pierre Gasly fourth, Alexander Albon in fifth. Not good as well for Max Verstappen, who ended up P7, but more about him later on. As FP2 witnessed a fascinating back and forth between Hamilton and Bottas, with the two drivers becoming the first to make it into the 1:11s bracket early on in the session before just backing up ever so slightly so they can get their race runs underway, because of course qualifying and the race is so crucial here at Monaco because it's so difficult to overtake. Interesting enough as well, their rivals couldn't get within 7/10 of them. Sebastian Vettel placed third for Ferrari, 0.763 seconds away. Massive gap, 7.5 tenths, massive gap. Even at Monaco, massive gap for Mercedes to pull out there. And Ferrari really got to hook it up coming into qualifying tomorrow. No, sorry, Saturday, isn't it? Because it's Thursday preview. See? First mistake of the weekend. As well, and having narrowly kept his front wing after a huge lock-up going into turn one for Sebastian Vettel, just caught the apex, locked up, went straight on, didn't hit the wall, luckily. Verstappen could have got the two Mercedes in FP2, but with the Dutchman only managing 10 laps before he was pulled into the Red Bull garage, with the mechanics working hard on a water leak in his RB15 as well. He ended up P6, one behind at the starts of the season. Toro Rosso's Alexander Albon, the Thai driver, was on pole position here in Formula 2 race last year and did 5th in the session here today in FP2 on his first outing here in Formula 1 machinery. A second place of Hamilton headline time as well, and 9 places up on teammate Danny Kvyat, who was P14. So, not much really ended up in the session. It was a bit of a nip and tuck session, a few people being blocked, but Mercedes pretty much dominant here in Monaco. Let's take a look at the free practice 2 times now. So Lewis Hamilton tops the second practice session for Mercedes, a 1:11.118. Valtteri Bottas second, a 1:11.199. Sebastian Vettel third, a 1:11.881. Pierre Gasly is fourth, a 1:11.938. Alexander Albon is fifth, a 1:12.031. Max Verstappen 6th, a 1:12.052. Kevin Magnussen 7th, a 1:12.174. Antonio Giovinazzi is 8th, a 1:12.239. Followed by Kimi Räikkönen 9th, a 1:12.342. And Charles Leclerc in 10th, a 1:12.350. Romain Grosjean is 11th, a 1:12.392. Lando Norris is 12th, a 1:12.393. Carlos Sainz 13th on a 1:12.419. And Danny Kvyat 14th, a 1:12.577. Sergio Perez 15th, a 1:12.752. Nico Hülkenberg is 16th, a 1:12.872. Followed by Danny Ricciardo 17th on a 1:12.888. Lance Stroll is 18th on a 1:14.558. George Russell 19th, a 1:15.052. And Robbie Kubica in 20th on a 1:15.146. So at the end of Thursday, Mercedes dominant with Hamilton and Bottas 1 and 2. No change, it seems, of the status quo we've had so far in 2019 of Mercedes winning every single race so far. Now, no running on the Friday as it is the traditional day off and the fashion show at Monaco. Formula 2 did run and a red flag was brought out in that race as well. But when action resumed on Saturday for the third practice, it looked like Ferrari had got their own back. Here's what happened in the free practice 3 report. It's extremely close at the front of the championship in terms of the two Mercedes, though. Anything can happen. Lewis Hamilton is third winner of the year. Valtteri Bottas still only on 2, though, as we come here to round 6 of the Monaco Grand Prix. Ferrari, though, looked to have taken something back, because in the third practice, it was Charles Leclerc who pipped Valtteri Bottas as Sebastian Vettel makes a bit of a rookie mistake and crashes down at Saint-Devote. Now, let's just give you the top 5 quickly. Charles Leclerc was the fastest at 1:11.265. Valtteri Bottas was second. Third for Lewis Hamilton. Fourth for Max Verstappen. Fifth for Pierre Gasly. And yet again, no Sebastian Vettel for the first time not in that top of the order. Ferrari's Monaco preparations took a hit. Very much, literally a hit during the final session as Sebastian Vettel locked up coming into Saint-Devote. Completely not his fault. It is a very tricky situation. If you make a mistake at this track, you do go into the wall. So Vettel coming into turn 1 just snags the front left brake and just skids off because he'd already committed to the apex. Just skids into the wall at Saint-Devote, knocking off the front right. So not really his fault at all. It's an easy thing to happen at this circuit. That makes it up, though, as Charles Leclerc has beaten the two Mercedes of Valtteri Bottas and Lewis Hamilton to take domination on Saturday morning. After some last-minute setup changes at the start of the hour, Lewis Hamilton took his silver arrow with a special red halo. And, of course, as we explained, red for Niki Lauda's cap, as Niki sadly passed away at the beginning of this week, just before the Grand Prix. Tributes for him up and down the paddock, and especially for us as we're wearing a red sound shield this weekend for him as well. So Lewis Hamilton to third place in that session, 2/10 down on Charles Leclerc, while Red Bull remaining very much in the mix with Max Verstappen fourth ahead of teammate Pierre Gasly into fifth place. Antonio Giovinazzi, strong weekend for him, continuing with a very impressive P6 overall. Alfa Romeo and the Italians separated the teammate Kimi Räikkönen in his 300th Grand Prix as well, with Toro Rosso's Danny Kvyat as well, who survived a brush with the barriers down at the tunnel entrance. He was ahead of the Haas of Kevin Magnussen. Thursday star Alexander Albon completed the top 10 in second Toro Rosso ahead of Renault duo Nico Hülkenberg and Daniel Ricciardo. Vettel's off was the only major incident in the session. The four-time champion, as I said, simply locked up and ran straight into the barrier at Saint-Avold. The impact and mercifully the damage of the car did not seem too severe, so he should be able to get out for qualifying without a problem. So Ferrari are repairing his car now. The incident only triggered a virtual safety car, though. No red flag. But also, Charles Leclerc was summoned to the stewards post-session for not keeping to the required time lap window under the virtual safety car. There were fears of potential grid penalty, but the Monegasque driver escaped only with a reprimand as well. Other small incidents involving Racing Point's Lance Stroll had a high-speed but ultimately painless trip down to Saint-Avold Escape Road after he locked up as well. Verstappen clouted the wall at the final turn very late into the hour, but no damage to the car. So, it's Charles Leclerc fastest on a 1:11.265 in the third and final practice session. Valtteri Bottas is second on 1:11.318. Lewis Hamilton third on 1:11.478. Max Verstappen is fourth on 1:11.539. Pierre Gasly is fifth on 1:11.738. Antonio Giovinazzi is sixth on 1:12.170. Danny Kvyat is seventh on 1:12.194. Kevin Magnussen eighth on 1:12.270. Kimi Räikkönen is ninth on 1:12.308. 10th is Alexander Albon at 1:12.338. Nico Hülkenberg is 11th at 1:12.489, followed by Daniel Ricciardo 12th at 1:12.519. Romain Grosjean is 13th at 1:12.566. Sebastian Vettel crashed at Saint-Avold and is now 14th at 1:12.583, only completing 7 laps. 15th for Carlos Sainz at 1:12.862. Lando Norris is 16th on a 1:12.914. Sergio Perez 17th at 1:13.232. Lance Stroll 18th at 1:13.622. Robert Kubica 19th on a 1:14.086. And George Russell is 20th at 1:14.305. So Leclerc topping free practice 3, then Sebastian Vettel going into the wall. A lot of action in the third and final session, and going into qualifying, it was anybody's guess. Qualifying at Monaco is always tricky. Let's see what happened in the qualifying review. Let's get into the qualifying report then for the 2019 Monaco Grand Prix, the jewel in the crown. Lewis Hamilton secures what was his only second ever pole position at the Monaco Grand Prix around the streets. He qualified ahead of Valtteri Bottas and the Red Bull of Max Verstappen. Hamilton's lap of a 1:10.166 established a new track record around Monte Carlo, although Bottas's efforts as well were just 0.086 seconds slower. That is impressive, and it would be the world champion who qualified ahead of his teammate for the first time since Bahrain, and securing Mercedes' fourth front row lockout in a row. Not only have they had 5 wins in a row, they've now had 4 front row lockouts in a row as well. You can hear the birds are flying around outside our studio. Ferrari, Sebastian Vettel was fourth after clouting the barrier to back on his final effort, finishing ahead of the Red Bull of Pierre Gasly in 5th place as well. One of the biggest shocks, though, at the first part of qualifying, as we get into now, he was the fastest man of free practice 3, but for Charles Leclerc, he found himself knocked out in the first part of qualifying in his home race after Ferrari failed to put him back out at the tail end after Q1. So he was called into the pit lane, he was called to the weighbridge, he missed the weighbridge, had to be pushed back, that lost him time. Then Ferrari decided that they weren't going to send him out again because they thought he was safe. They sent Vettel out again because he definitely wasn't safe after his error in FP3, and unfortunately Vettel actually knocked out Leclerc, so not good. Leclerc saying that he needs answers for that. Vettel's last lap was a good one, though, as he went top ahead of the 2 Mercedes and Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas, and with others improving. An angry Leclerc found himself put down to 16th place out of Q1, along with the Racing Point pair of Sergio Perez and Lance Stroll. Stroll failing to make it out of Q1 for the 10th race in a row. Absolutely shocking behaviour as well. And the Williamses of George Russell and Robert Kubica as well. 6 in a row they've been knocked out in qualifying 1. That was the knockout zone of Q1. On to Q2. Both Toro Rossos into Q3 as the Alpha pair drop out. Alfa Romeo said on Thursday that they were aiming for a Q3 after a strong free practice 1 and 2, but it wasn't to be, with the team failing to convert their impressive pace on Saturday impressive pace of Thursday, but on Saturday ended up P14 and P15 in the grid with Raikkonen ahead of Antonio Giovinazzi. But Giovinazzi has received a grid penalty as well after blocking Pierre Gasly in qualifying. They were joined in the drop zone by Renault's Nico Hülkenberg in P11, McLaren's Lando Norris P12, and Haas's Romain Grosjean P13, all of whom had to watch on as their teammates progressed to qualifying 3. Haas's Kevin Magnussen dropped, doing so well with a fantastic final effort, only 0.745 slower than Max Verstappen's leading time in the segment, putting him 5th overall. Grosjean had mitigating circumstances though in his defence, however, appearing to be blocked by the Red Bull of Pierre Gasly going down to Mirabeau. It was a serious enough offence for the stewards to investigate it, while an radio message sent back from Grosjean was basically in Morse code. Just bleep, 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 what an idiot, bleep, 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 was all he said for that one. And the Haas team spoke volumes as well about his feelings through the actions as well. So knocked out in qualifying 2 was Nico Hülkenberg, Lando Norris, Romain Grosjean, Kimi Raikkonen and Antonio Giovinazzi. On to qualifying 3 then, and the final part of qualifying, Lewis Hamilton has taken his 85th career pole position despite a very scrappy final effort on the run. It seemed to be a four-way fight between the two Mercedes, Sebastian Vettel and Red Bull's Max Verstappen. Vettel put himself out of that fight in the final moments of qualifying, with the Ferrari driver hitting the barriers at the outside to back with the rear right tyre as he pushed hard, meaning that he failed to improve on his 1:10.947. Finished in 4th. Hamilton on a last-ditch effort to unsettle his teammate Bottas, having established a new track record, as I said earlier, a 1:10.252. The onboard camera appeared to show Hamilton having a nightmare final sector of the lap, nearly hitting the barriers at the exit of the swimming pool before locking up and having to nearly take 2 bites of the cherry by going around Raskas. It seems like it was all over. And yet Hamilton is a master of carrying speed through the last corners, and even while locking up, across the line, and he shot to the top of the timesheet to take an 85th career pole position. Red Bull and Ferrari failed to appear on their pace. Magnussen was in 5th place as well. It was, second charge of the Mercedes with Ricciardo, the King of Monaco last year, has got a good grid slot, which is going to go after points on Sunday. Finishing 7th, Carlos Sainz receives a 4-race streak of starting in the top 10. 9th and as well. So, Monaco belongs to Hamilton at the moment. Mercedes are 1-2 for Niki Lauda. Let's take a look at the grid for the 90th year of the Monaco Grand Prix. So Mercedes line up on the front row of the grid for the 4th race running. Lewis Hamilton on pole for the 85th time, Valtteri Bottas alongside. Row 2, Max Verstappen and Sebastian Vettel. Row 3, Kevin Magnussen and Danny Ricciardo. Row 4 is Danny Kvyat and Pierre Gasly, who has a 3-place grid penalty for impeding another driver. Row 5, Carlos Sainz and Alexander Albon. Row 6, Nico Hülkenberg and Lando Norris. Row 7, Romain Grosjean and Kimi Raikkonen on his 300th Grand Prix start. Row number 8 of the grid, Charles Leclerc and Sergio Perez. Row 9, Lance Stroll and Antonio Giovinazzi, who too has a 3-place grid penalty for impeding another driver. And on row 10, it's the 2 Williams drivers. George Russell is 19th and Robert Kubica starts last in 20th. It should be a cracking jewel in the crown for the Monaco Grand Prix. The 2019 Monaco Grand Prix, the jewel in the crown for Formula 1, and with Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas taking another Mercedes 1-2, it's going to be an epic race. Now, Megan's not been with us this weekend. She's been suffering some illness over the past 2 race weekends. She should be back by Canada. So alongside me in the commentary box, once again, was my father, Ian Birch. So your commentators for the 2019 Monaco Grand Prix highlights, myself, Joshua Birch, and alongside me, Ian Birch.
The Monaco Grand Prix, Race 6, Lap 1.
Hamilton has the advantage. The pole sitter has won 39 times. In a total of all the races come from the start. The lights are on in Monaco. For Lewis Hamilton, it's one shot. Action at Monte Carlo. Great start by Hamilton. It's a great start by Bottas. Look at Verstappen. He's on the inside and he'll get second. But he has to bounce out of it as Sander Vos. 2 cars coming the track. That's Giovinazzi, Leclerc and one of the Williamses as well as they head up Beau Rivage towards Massenet. Hamilton leads the way. Second place for Valtteri Bottas. Third place place for Verstappen, and I think Pierre Gasly's made his way to 4th place as well. Down through Mirabeau towards the Lowe's hairpin. Are they all going to get through safely? I think they have. I can't see anyone making a little mistake. There's a bit of side-by-side, little bump being brought in. We've got a yellow out already in the first 2 sectors. We have gone green. Giovinazzi, so that's Raikkonen trying to go back. Raikkonen's gone right back down the order. Hamilton leads from Bottas, Verstappen, Vettel. But currently, but I think Gasly has gone up the order. No, there is Vettel. There is Ricciardo, Magnussen, so everyone in the same positions as they started.
Replay.
As we see a replay of Charles Leclerc throwing at the inside of Norris. That's a great move on Lando. Nicely done, not too late. Lando knew he was there, able to push up a little bit more position. So great running order at the moment.
Replay.
Replay of the start. Great start, lights out. Watch Hamilton gets the launch, but Verstappen got the better getaway on the run down towards turn number 1. Bottas had to cut him off, but if you look, Verstappen gets the launch, gets alongside, but backs out as Bottas just chops him off. Round the outside, a great move into Sainte Devote from Ricciardo getting through on Magnussen. And then who's the cars cutters? It's Charles Leclerc, one of them. Renault locks up, and there off the track goes Giovinazzi, and yep, Kubica as well. So Kubica going through, Giovinazzi and Leclerc going through. This is on board with Verstappen. Look, he gets alongside, but then Bottas is just going to chop him off, so has to back out of it. And Toto Wolff clapping on, wearing the red cap, same as we are up in the box.
Lap 9.
Well, he's trying to go through at the Nouvelle chicane, but he can't seem to get a move on through to back. Vettel, a 1:16.278 to set the fastest lap of the race so far. He's lovely through the swimming pool section. Is he going to do what his godfather Jules Bianchi did and try and go through Rascasse? Look at him, he's going to do it at the inside. Wheel banging, yes, Charles! Brilliant move from Rascasse. What a move from Charles Leclerc.
Lap 10.
What is your weather?
Oh, he's doing the same on Hulkenberg, and he's contact! Oh, he tried to do it. Leclerc tried to go the inside, going to go side by side. That's going to be a contact. He just holds off the McLaren of Lando Norris. But Leclerc tried the move on Nico Hulkenberg. It didn't pay off. But Leclerc proving that he wants to race, and he's doing it at Rascasse. Oh, he's got a puncture! He's got a puncture! Leclerc's got a puncture!
And he's good, so he's held in everybody up now.
And he's
but also, if he would have got a time penalty for that, because he was rash.
He was a bit too much, and he's got to be careful not to put it in the wall. Charles Leclerc with a puncture, touching the wall at Rascasse, and can he get it through with that? Yeah, understandably, you've got to cut the chicane there. Charles is trying to hold everyone, but he's going to be stone dead last now. And there he goes! There he goes! And he's gone. This is going to be a safety car for sure. The tyre's gone, and oh, Charles, come on, nurse it back to the pit lane. Oh, he's broken the floor. Oh, he's broken. This is him out of the race, and this is going to. Oh, there's debris flying everywhere. This is going to have to be a safety car. Oh, and Charles Leclerc trying to nurse it back to the pit lane, and he's shredded loads of carbon fibre all over the track, gets it into the pit lane, but look, he's dead last now, and he's broken the floor, and I don't think he'll be able to get back out of the race. Let's see what the front mechanics can do. He takes the wheel off, puts it on. They're sending him back out, but the floor's damaged, so it's not an it's not a massive aero circuit, so he might just get away with that floor damage, but we'll see.
Lap 11.
So safety car deployed. Sky Race Control, right decision for safety car?
It's the right decision because there is carbon fibre all over the track and bits of tyre. Right, as you can see there on the replay, it's absolutely ripped it to pieces. And as it's flaying round, it's just ripping the floor to pieces. And the truth of the matter is, he's not only ruined his race, he's ruined everybody's.
Yeah, because now the strategy for the safety car, this plays perfectly into the hands of those who are doing a one-stop strategy to pit now. Lewis Hamilton is going to pit, I believe, because he wants to go on those fresh tyres. So if Mercedes got to pit him now, it's lap 10 to 22 to make a tyre change. Look at this, they're all responding. Lewis Hamilton comes into the pit lane. Hamilton pits then from the lead of the race and under safety car. It's now action time in Monaco. Who's going to go where, when and how? New tyres go on. It's a medium compound tyre. Bottas coming in, so Bottas has held up Verstappen and Vettel to do a double stop. Who's going to be quicker? This is Vettel's got a good one as the debris cleared up. Oh, get out of the way, get out of the way. You've got cars coming through. There's contact! There's contact! An unsafe release, surely from Red Bull. They've released him into the path of Valtteri Bottas, and there was contact mid-pit lane. Verstappen up to second, but surely an unsafe pit stop release. And there's carbon fibre now. Wow, Charles Leclerc. Oh, and things flying off the Red Bull left, right and centre. Charles Leclerc has played a blinder in this race because now Verstappen's second, but an unsafe release and the Red Bull's damaged. Wow!
Lap 60.
Oh, we got a car park at Roscas, and that's going to be a red flag. That's going to be a red flag. We've got a car park, and it's one of the Williams has been put round as well. It's reversing in the middle, and Charles Leclerc's involved. Skyways control, Dad, quickly pick up your mic. We saw this in Formula 2, and he's managed to hook it up, so no need for a red flag. But wow, that was a contact. What happened there? Oh, is it? Oh, that's Giovinazzi spinning round Robert Kubica and causing a traffic jam at Roscas. That could so easily been a red flag.
It wasn't Giovinazzi who span round.
No, sorry, yeah, Kubica span round and Giovinazzi hit him round.
Yeah, it was a simple case of the fact that Robert can't use his hand fast enough
to save it, yeah.
When he saw Giovinazzi, he just couldn't get round him.
Yeah.
Which caused him to spin round and then
block the track.
All four drivers were sensible. There could have been a red flag there, but all four drivers were sensible and got on with it.
Yeah, indeed. And as you said, that could have so easily been a red flag. You're right, look. He did hit the wall, Bottas, and his suspension on the other side as well. The last time anything like that happened was 2005. Go on. With Bottas' accident.
If you look at that back right white wheel in this clip, it's slightly moving. I think it dislodged the nut.
Yeah, and he had to pit to make sure it was all safe because he has changed tyres and it is under investigation, as I said, that contact.
Lap 18.
Charles Leclerc comes into the pit lane. Is this to retire from the Grand Prix? I think it is. Charles Leclerc in, no tyres, and heartbreaking qualifying. Redemption for the first 10 laps of the race. But Charles Leclerc out of the race.
Replay.
Sergio Perez goes for a move on the inside. And making the move on Magnussen. Does Magnussen cut the corner? Yes, he does. And I wonder if Perez might be on the radio saying, I want that position back.
Lap 48.
And look at this, the leaders have now met this battle. The leaders have met the battle between Ricciardo, Magnussen, Perez, Hülkenberg, Russell and Stroll. And this is now a crazy carnival because they're all now going to be bunched up. Remember what happened in 2011? It stopped the race. This is going to get very interesting now as Hamilton makes his way through and Stroll gets out of the way as well. Is Stroll going to get out of the way of Vettel? Yes, he is. But, this is a mess. This is a right mess coming into the back side by side. Wow! Close. Bottas trying to get through now. Bottas is being held up by Stroll, and Stroll's not letting him through. Stroll is not letting him through. This is unbelievable. And he goes through now. Roscas. Wow.
Lap 76.
Look at Verstappen then, 76 78. This is just position, and no, he's not going to go. He's not going to go. Yes, he is. He throws out the inside. There's contact. Hamilton straight on. Verstappen went for the move, but there's contact at the Newville chicane, and Hamilton has he got a puncture? Oh, there's the wing damaged. The wing looks all right. Let's take a look at it on board. Throws it in at the Newville chicane. Lock up, little puncture. Has Hamilton got a puncture? We saw what happened to Leclerc. Throws it up the inside, touches. Oh, Lewis may have a puncture. He may. This might give the race to Vettel. Race control. Dad, what do you make of that one?
Hopefully Lewis hasn't got a puncture, but because he saw him coming.
Lap 78.
So Lewis Hamilton, he doesn't have to worry about Verstappen in second. Sebastian Vettel will finish in second. Valtteri Bottas will finish in third place, but Verstappen will finish in fourth. Lewis Hamilton, though, comes into Raskas. He's a hero. Ayrton Senna won this race 6 times. In 2019, he's a 3-time winner in Monaco. Hamilton wins on the streets of the Principality and becomes the king of Monaco. Listed second on the road is Verstappen, but Vettel will finish in second. Third place will go to Valtteri Bottas. Fourth will go to Max Verstappen, and fifth to Pierre Gasly. Mercedes 1-2s are broken by Vettel, but it's a 6th win in a row for Mercedes. It's a 6th win It's a 6th win of 2019. It's a 4th win for Lewis Hamilton of the year. It's a 3rd win at Monaco.
Next race, Canada.
So Lewis Hamilton victorious at the Monaco Grand Prix for the 3rd time, won in 2008, then won in 2016, and then has now won in 2019 as well. And Sebastian Vettel 2nd, Valtteri Bottas 3rd as well. Now, Megan, once again, ill, not with us. She's had a bout of illness that's affected her for quite a few weeks. It's going around, actually, in our house. So, alongside me, once again, a man of many words, who has now appeared on more podcasts than Megan has, and has done more commentary laps than Megan, and is the only one, bar myself, is the only other person who can actually complete the Triple Crown this year, having also commentated on the Indy 500. It's my own father, it's Ian Birch. Hello, Dad, how have you been?
Hello.
How have you been then? We did Indy straight after Monaco, so can you actually remember Monaco? Because I can't.
I can remember bits of Monaco because a certain person, right, who should have been at his home track doing wonderful things, didn't. The poor lad, he had such, a nightmare of a weekend. And, he will get there in the end. But we know from what we have seen, he is going to be a champion. Anybody who saw him in F2 realises that this kid's special, a bit like Verstappen. But yeah, I remember the race.
Yep, Charles Leclerc. It all started in qualifying, didn't it, with Ferrari not sending him out in time and being eliminated in Q1. The first time a Ferrari had been eliminated in Q1 since Malaysia in 2017. That was a double one, actually, for them. But not a great race weekend. So let's start then with the driver ratings. And as usual, the pundits will do it, and that's you and Megan. But Megan's not here, but she will rejoin us at the Canadian Grand Prix, finally. So let's start with Lewis Hamilton. As usual, it's a rating out of 5, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. And your rating for Lewis Hamilton, our winner?
Led virtually the entire way. I can't remember anybody else being in front.
Neither can I, no.
So, Lewis, 5.
Second place is Sebastian Vettel. Looked into that due to a penalty for Verstappen, but second place on the road, just 2 seconds off the pace of Hamilton. But he had a good strategy for once with Ferrari.
Yeah, I feel that actually he was ignoring them. I think what I noticed is that he was holding back, so he wasn't in that waft from the air from the back aeroflows. Right, the air coming off the car, he was just far enough back, over a car's distance away, all the time, so it wasn't bothering him. Because he knew from 3/4 of the race that Verstappen had this penalty, and it was his second place.
Yeah, and it was Lewis Hamilton who put the wrong tyres on. He put the mediums on, whereas everyone else put the hards on, so that compromised his race strategy. The tyres were struggling, so he knew if he just stayed where he was, he could get second or even could get the win.
Do you want a rating for Verstappen?
We'll get there in a second, but it's Bottas in... We did Vettel, yeah. Bottas in first.
Why are we doing second and third differently?
I can't remember. Because Verstappen's in fourth, remember? Because that penalty's put it back.
Who am I giving a rating for? Verstappen?
We did Vettel's rating. Have we done Vettel's rating?
That's what I was asking. Vettel, no.
Right, give Vettel a rating.
Vettel rating is 3 for effort.
Yeah, because it's getting complicated with that.
Verstappen's?
Yeah, go on then.
Verstappen, absolutely, despite coming fourth because of the penalty, right? Verstappen pushed Lewis all the way. 5 for Verstappen.
And that slight contact at the Nouvelle Chicane on 76 was quite dramatic. Bottas inherited third place, but would have finished fourth on the road. But again, he's supposed to be Bottas 2.0, the championship leader. It's now slipped in the last few weeks, and he's giving it to Hamilton. It's not twigging for Bottas anymore. So your rating?
Well, in the last few weeks, there's been a lot of things at. I'm going to give him 4, and I'll tell you why. Because the drivers had 2 tragedies in their lives during that period, and that affects everybody. And I think Lewis did fantastic. The little boy has died, and
Harry.
Yeah, and Nicky has died, who was a great mentor for both of them. And I just feel that Bottas tried his hardest, but the reason he's been off in the last few races is because he knew things weren't right, and that team isn't right at the moment. And Bottas, I don't think he's anywhere near as strong as Lewis. Right? Lewis seems to have this ability to put things out of his mind when he gets on the track. Right.
It's reminding me of what Villeneuve had. He could just put everything out of his mind as well.
Jack didn't have anything in his mind in the first place.
I was on about Gilles, not Jacques. Gilles. I should have said that. I forgot those 2 of them.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm old enough to remember Gilles Villeneuve. As soon as you mention Gilles' name, I can see the pictures that are never shown, which I saw when he was killed.
Zolder, yeah. And that's coming up, isn't it? In June, early June. Yeah. It's right about now.
He hit the fence.
Yeah.
He was flung out that car and hit the fence, or parts of that car hit the fence with him in it, and that's never been shown, thankfully.
Yeah, but they have shown the crash, but they always stop it before it's shown because it was a nasty accident at Zolder.
In them days, we always had nasty accidents on the TV, even though it was only half an hour in them days.
One thing because it's the highlights of BBC. One thing that always reminds me as well is because it was quite similar to the Senna and Ratzenberger, because Gilles died at Zolder. 2 weeks later, it was the Canadian Grand Prix, which would have been his race, and then we had another driver fatality at the start of the race as well. So 2 deaths in 2 weeks was awful at that period in time in '82. And we had it as well in '94, and the last one was with Jules Bianchi in 2014. And we'll get on to what Leclerc did later on, but yeah, go on.
Nicky, Jackie Stewart and Nicky Lauda are responsible for why there isn't as many deaths, because of the things that they have being put in place in the regulations to make these cars safer. And it was good to know now that Lewis and Sebastian have persuaded every driver to be part of the Drivers' Association now. Every driver on that grid is part of the things. The only thing Lewis should remember is that one of the members is a girl, because he said at the press conference that we're not supposed to talk about yet.
It doesn't matter.
Right? He said it's a man's game. Well, you tell that to a certain girl that is at Alfa Romeo, because she'll tell you, I'll give you a race. You give me Bottas's car and I'll give you a race.
Tatiana Calderon, who is the currently championship leader of the W Series, isn't she? She won in Hockenheim.
Tatiana isn't.
That's Jamie Chadwick, isn't it? Yeah, Tatiana's. I thought so. You always get those 2 confused because they do look quite similar, and they both are at Alfa Romeo. Oh yeah, they both are at Alfa Romeo. But
talking of the W Series, like I didn't think it would be capable, but the British girls, right, the last race, the British girls, it was very exciting in the last 5 laps, right, just like the men, right. You got F3 cars there, right, and Jamie is just so. If anybody's going to get a full-time Formula One ride, it's going to be either Tatiana or Jamie. The thing about Tatiana in F3 is the boys don't play fair. When she first
Monaco.
Yeah, the boys they play dirty with her. They're always forcing her wide. They're always, and that idiot last week who hit her, right? And
Mick.
Yeah, I know which Schumacher it was. Yeah, right.
Rolf, there we go.
No. Rolf would have done better in his touring car than Mick did in that.
F2, yeah. It caused a red flag and track blockage. We nearly had that in the F1 race as well. I caught that. Two things.
I don't know how his dad is, but when his dad, I bet the first word that went through his dad's mind when he watched that on the television was stupid.
It probably was, and probably as well, it was because we know that Michael watches the race and everything.
I mean, I like a lot of people. It's all online if you want to go find it, right? I remember when he used to look after Sebastian and Ralph when they were back in karting days. He used to call them stupid. He used to tell them off, right? Little Sebastian, age 10, in the back of a transit van, right? Anybody who thinks Sebastian Vettel isn't related to Michael Schumacher, right? They might be very distantly related, but Michael had a lot to do with Sebastian being who he is now. He was looking after him a bit like the McLaren team was looking after Lewis.
Yeah, and there's always that imagery, isn't there, of Schumacher standing on the balcony after his kart race had finished, shouting at Ralph going round. And sort of driven, being like a spotter.
I like the one when he's telling him when he's putting different wheels on his goat.
Oh yeah.
And he's standing around and telling him he's got the wrong brakes on here, and these wheels won't suit this circuit, and how he's got to learn these things. Yeah.
And Ralph just sort of standing there with a bit of weight on in those days as well. Just sort of looking around at the car, trying not to take any notice of him, but he obviously did. Gasly, back to the race. Gasly finished in 5th place as well. He's had a bit of a strange start at Red Bull, hasn't he? He's not been on the podium. He's always been about 5th or 6th. He's never actually broken through to the top 4.
Gasly's problem is not talent; it's mindset, and also it's. From what I've been listening to, the suggestion is that the difference between the Red Bull and the Toro Rosso is the different modes and the settings, and he's just a kid who can't change from one to the other. Unlike some of them, right, who can get in one car and within a couple of laps of things, he's still thinking he's in a Toro Rosso when he's putting the more powerful Red Bull round a corner, braking at the wrong time, being in the wrong settings, being told off by the... How many times has his engineer come on and said, mode so-and-so, please?
A lot.
Yeah, he's always in the wrong mode.
He's not... It's like he hasn't twigged the different settings, because they've got the same engine, but Red Bull get the priority for the new stuff. But as you say, it is different settings.
He's just one of those people that that isn't technically. I mean, the most technically minded out of the lot is Bottas.
Oh yeah.
Right, Bottas has an engineering degree. You know, he's worked as a mechanic for Williams.
Corporal.
Yeah.
Corporal as well, in case anyone didn't know that. Why am I now seeing a picture of Sebastian Vettel in a spacesuit on the TV? I don't know where that was from, because we've got the B-roll for it. That's unusual.
I think it's one of those weird things like Ricardo and Titanic and Dirty Dancing. I think it's something someone's made up.
Oh, right. I was going to say, I don't remember that ever happening. Rating for Gasly, by the way?
Gasly, 2.
Yeah. Carlos Sainz for McLaren finished in 6th place as well. Best of the rest. McLaren seem to have finally got their racing under control, but they succeed at Monaco. They fail at Indy, not even qualifying for the 500 with Fernando Alonso. So success at one side of the pond, but not on the other. Rating for Sainz?
Well, don't get me wrong. Gasly and Sainz had a better race.
Yeah.
Right? This time, and Gasly did beat him, didn't he?
Yep, 5th, Gasly, Sainz 6th.
Yeah, but I'm going to give Sainz 3, not 2, because these marks are about how competent that car. Verstappen proved Gasly could have done a lot more with that car.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? So that's why Sainz gets 3, even though he came behind him.
Yeah, because it's all about the driver and their performance over the weekend, not the cars and the teams. Although I have seen comments that we should start doing a team thing, but that just gets complicated because we're actually calculating these points we give up over the year. So at the end, we've got a champion. But
You are, or I am.
I am. I've got a chalkboard up there with all the points written down, and I can't say who's leading because that's halfway through the year. We're doing a little feature on it, so I can't say who's leading, but I know who is leading. And so far, his name begins with L, and he's a fan of ham, and he may be a bit blessed. So let's move on. 7th for Danny Kvyat, the father to be. At the Toro Rosso team now with Kelly Piquet. Would you remember last time out we were discussing with which one was it? It was Kelly Piquet, who's pregnant and of course daughter of Nelson.
And the biggest dilemma, according to Johnny Herbert says that when he was talking to them with Karun, that the biggest thing in their mind at the moment is the fact that Kelly has got to try and give birth, he jokingly said, between the Grand Prix, because he's round about the 10 days from the British Grand Prix. And that was a joking, but what is nice to see is the upturn in Kvyat's performance to do with the fact that he now has a lot of input from that family, because, there's
The PKs.
there's a lot of good PKs driving. Right, I didn't like Nelson. He was a
manipulator more than other than especially that Mansell and PK's relationship.
Well, he made people like Vettel with their mistakes and look good. And the thing was, his idea was to run people off the track to get his own way. He wouldn't survive in modern day because they had no way of giving him any punishment in them days like they do today, right? He would definitely be up with the driver stewards and be pushed back from now. If you want to see an example of that, go look up him and Prost, right? Or him and Mansell. Right, they were Mansell and him teammates at the time.
87, and that move in the British Grand Prix. But Mansell always said how didn't Mansell's house have a fire, and Piquet sort of mocked him in the media about it. I can't remember something about that, but it was a very bitter relationship between the two.
I believe, from what I remember, he called members of Nigel's family.
Yes, yeah. It was his younger children, wasn't it, at the time?
Yeah, and it's just not on. But the Piquet and Alesi last year, he's an old man now, and he's mellowed a bit, and he's just the proud father of his youngest, who is did quite well in GP3, which is now F3.
I can't remember his name. I can't remember the younger PK's name, unfortunately. I know it's on the tip of my tongue. It begins with a J. I can't remember. Right. Alexander Albon in P8, also for Toro Rosso. He's having quite a good run, actually, Alexander. What's your rating for him?
Well, I always give him 4. Right? Because of the fact that you can see the talent there. And you can also see the restriction of the vehicle he's driving. Right? It's his first season, and he's already showing what he can do. A bit like Lando. I mean, you've got to admit George, who is the other Brit, right? I know he's a Thai, but he's
Alexander.
Alexander, I know.
Oh, right, yeah.
Alexander might.
Oh, I've got confused on that. Sorry. Yeah, I know.
Alexander might have the Thai flag, but he's British all through, right? And I believe that kid's got a good future, and he did really well in that race. You know, really, really well.
There is a feature coming up at the Canadian Grand Prix where Ted Kravitz is going to show Alexander around all key places of the other Thai driver in Formula One, of course, the Prince, who raced back in 1950, and they're going to go around London and show all that, and just a bit more of a home thing for Alexander.
Exactly, go around London, not Thailand, because the Prince was the same. He was based himself in London, and Alexander Albon was actually born in London. Right?
Yes, yeah.
He's what you call dual nationality type thing.
A bit like, is it Zach Veach or is it's Ed Jones? Ed Jones, who races in IndyCar, races under the Dubai flag.
Yeah, Ed Jones in IndyCar. He does. He's Dubai all through and through because that's where he lives and But he was actually born in Britain and brought up in Britain.
Yep. All 100% now, of course, in America.
100% British.
Oh, that was the IndyCar, wasn't it? We were talking about it. Yeah, well, he's coming, isn't he, soon? Donald.
Donald's driving?
Maybe on a racetrack. He has done a Formula E. I know he's done a Formula E at Miami. He went around the track in Formula E in that demo car. But I've lost what I was going to say now. It's on the tip of my tongue and I've lost what I was going to say.
Well, you see, old Donald, he used to own one of the cable companies, which was Liberty's rival.
Yeah. Merged.
And Verizon. And Verizon IndyCar Series ran for years as the sponsor of the IndyCar Series.
It's now the NTT Data. And you just reminded me, getting back to IndyCar, we did the 500. Megan was ill with that one as well, so she missed that. But me and you did the 500. We saw that Zach Brown decided to leave America, not stay for the 500, and came back to the Monaco Grand Prix.
Zach Brown must feel embarrassed. This is a man with so much IndyCar, NASCAR experience, and he made fatal decisions for that car, right?
The steering wheel.
They developed a steering wheel. And Zach himself has said that up until 2 weeks before, they were going to have their own steering wheel, which Fernando was getting used to, right? And then they designed the car, they built the car, right? And then they had to get an off-the-peg steering wheel, which Alonso didn't get used to, right?
Crashed the
built car. They had to go and buy one quick, off the peg, right? Paint it.
The papaya orange, and it was in the factory 30 minutes before the start and lost a day and a half of running.
Well, the thing is, why didn't they just get some of this stuff that you put on with hot air, this film, and wrap it rather than paint it, right? Because of the fact that cost Alonso 2 days of getting used to that car.
And, rather embarrassingly, we saw in qualifying James Hinchcliffe crash, wreck his main car, but get back out and qualify with his track car converted into oval spec.
He was beaten by a young lad who was a part of a team that had raised money to actually compete. McLaren were beaten by a lad that was virtually the most independent driver you've had in 10 years in IndyCar. And he was beaten by him. And McLaren should be absolutely ashamed of themselves. They should have done what they did the year before, gone to someone like Penske or Andretti again, and just said, you provide us with the car, right? Put it in our colours, and let's go racing.
Absolute failure this year at the 500 for them, and that reason we're talking about is because you saw McLaren looking like their faces had been slapped on Saturday morning and Sunday as well because they weren't qualified.
Embarrassed. They were totally embarrassed.
Yeah, they really were. Okay. So Ricciardo P9 overall for him. Not a bad result, but he started P12, didn't he? He got lucky with some penalties, but good race, but he's still not used to that car. And I think he's realising now that he's made a mistake leaving Red Bull, thinking that the Honda engine wouldn't be competitive. The Renault car he's in isn't competitive whatsoever.
No, but then again, the Renault cars up and down the grid aren't competitive enough, and so he should have realised this at the time. He should have a lot more faith in Honda.
Yeah.
Because Verstappen did. Verstappen had looked into the data, and he saw the improvements, and there was proof that that it wasn't the car.
It was the engine. Yeah, that had the problem. Yeah.
Is fault. It was, in fact, the dynamics of the car.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that you put the same engine, virtually, in the Toro Rossos last season, and off they went, right? Yeah, they had a few breakdowns, few things, but you always do when you change engines like that. And that's not giving Renault an excuse for poor engines with McLaren. But, yeah, I just get this feeling that it was the car.
Under McLaren and Ron Dennis there, it must have been.
Well, look at Williams this year.
Yeah, Mercedes engine and stuff like that.
That car is 95% right. But you get a car 5% wrong in its aero nowadays, right? And you're going to struggle. And that is what the Williams are doing. They've got the best young driver in Formula One in George in there, right? I think George is better than anybody else. And I know people are going to say Leclerc.
No, George beat him in F2.
I'm a big Leclerc fan, but you give George the right equipment and he will beat Leclerc, right? They're going to be, I hate to say this, but people like the three young Brits, Leclerc and the couple of French lads are going to be the future of Formula One.
Definitely so. 10th place then for Romain Grosjean in the Haas. A strong race actually throughout. We saw him make a lot of overtakes, started way down at the back of the grid. But I'm going to double check where Grosjean started 13th and moved up to 10th and got some points as well. And that was because of pit stop strategy. So your rating?
And as I said, they're the young lads are the future of Formula One and the people who've got to worry is there is so many seats, only so many seats available. And people like Grosjean, and Grosjean did a poor race, really.
Yeah.
But
effectively, yeah.
Haas had a poor race at Monaco. The car doesn't suit it, does it? It's technology. It's the Ferrari, last year's Ferrari virtually, right? But it's their aero on it, and a lot of it.
It's B car.
Yeah, it's like a B car, and yeah, I think Grosjean. He's such a talented bloke, right? But he's lost his edge. He needs Magnussen's fire in him instead of his moaning.
Yeah, because Grosjean definitely is moaning a lot. We saw it in Monaco as well on his quali lap. Lando Norris was the last driver classified on the lead lap and finished in just outside the points in 11th. Lando, as we said throughout already, very determined and very quick, but first visit to Monaco in an F1 car didn't go as planned. He did touch the wall a few times.
Lando overdrives. He overdrives the car, and he's got to calm down. He's got to get his head in the right space. I remember Lando in the lower formulas when he was this little lad.
Yeah.
Tiny little lad racing against these 6-foot giants next to him, and he could beat in things like, want it Ginettas,
Junior.
Yeah, and he's driving these Ginetta sports cars around, and he can hardly see over the wheel, and he's beating them.
Yeah. Where next?
So Grosjean 2, Lando 3.
Sergio Perez finished in 12th place for the Racing Point. Another disappointing result for this team. They're actually struggling so much that they're 9th in the constructors, I think, just below Williams, who've got none. But Perez finished in 12th.
Yeah. What do you do when you throw a lot of money at something and sometimes it don't work. You've got to stand back and say, what were we doing before that was so right, and why are we doing so wrong now? And as a certain person says, Racing Point, Force India, whatever they're calling themselves now, they're just throwing too much money in the wrong direction, right? And the drivers are suffering. Perez is one of the best drivers on that grid, right? I like Perez, and believe it or not, the Moneybags kid can drive as well when he wants to.
Azerbaijan 2017.
Yeah, he's got a podium, and he's not in Formula One because his dad bought him the seat only. He wouldn't got his super license if he hadn't have been so good in F3. Yeah. Nowadays you have to have a super license. You can't just buy yourself in. If you put an idiot who's just a rich kid in a Formula One car, it's like he could kill someone. Yeah. So you've got to have the talent nowadays, and that kid's got the talent. He's got his F3 qualifications to get him into that thing, and so. But I think it's the team. I think they're going backwards because they're throwing too much money, and if you're going to throw money into technicalities to try and develop a car, then you're going to have the people there. And I know they brought a couple of people in, but they need 3 or 4 more because their expertise it's like me and you buying a Ferrari.
Yeah. We won't know how to run it or how to maintain it.
I'll tell you.
You probably would.
I'll tell you a little story, right? I'm a taxi driver, right? I picked up this woman, and the guy next door's just bought himself one of those new Jags.
Yeah.
Right? And we go off down the road, and it's making hell of a noise. We come up next to him at the traffic lights, and he's going, to his girlfriend, and he's going, how many £1,000 this cost? £100,000 or something. Yeah, I think it cost about 70 or 80 grand. And he's going things, and I wind the passenger window down, and he sees that it's his things, and he puts the window down and he goes, well, it's gone wrong. I said, you're in sport mode. Yeah. Right? I said, you're in sport mode. It's like a British touring car. Go on your computer settings and set it for normal parameters. And he did. And it was the relief on his face. And that's it. It's the same with Force India Point, Racing Point, whatever they're called. No point, Racing Point. Right? If you don't understand, if you're buying in the best technology and you don't understand it, then you're not going to be able to use it properly.
Exactly, yeah. 100%. And we know that team delivered under Force India, but they haven't delivered under Racing Point. And they had a lot of debt to pay off, and the car's sort of the same from last year, just a few upgrades. They are expecting a B car soon, but nothing's turning up. Nico Hulkenberg, 13th, another bad weekend, and a weekend very much compromised all throughout since Thursday. A lap down overall as well, 13th. Your rating?
For who again?
Hulkenberg.
For who again?
That's very good.
Well, he should stick to his bike sometimes. Hulk's lost interest, honestly. Yeah. Right, he's got a lovely dog.
Yes, yeah, Lee had it on, didn't she? Interview with her on Friday morning, I saw.
She's trying to, because you can't buy proper fare nowadays without being cut on. She's trying to get it to actually hug her around the shoulders so that it looks like a fair coat.
I did see that. She said, "I'm not doing the interview with you." Now I've noticed you brought the dog. So yeah, Hulkenberg. Yeah, by that league.
Hulkenberg, 2.
Yeah. Kevin Magnussen in the other Haas. We've spoken about Haas as well. But Magnussen, 14th overall, a lap down. He was 2 seconds off from Russell, so Russell was actually faster than anybody else at this track this year. He was 0.3 tenths of a second faster than Hamilton at one point in the race. So good stuff from them. Yeah,
again, I think it's Haas, not him. And so let's give him 2 because his position deserves 1.
Yeah. Russell is 15th, as we said, and we've talked about him. Not bad for George in a car that is not delivering. It's the first time this season he has finished with a car behind him that is not his teammate.
Yes, this is true. Yes, this is true.
Nice Nicky tribute there.
Yes. You know what I mean. Everyone knows the trouble. Yeah. Right. George is one for the future. These are driving points. 3.
Just noticed that Hulkenberg started 11th, and we saw that he dropped down to 13th, so not a great race for him. Lance Stroll, 16th for Racing Point as well, was involved in that contact with Robert Kubica at the Rascasse, so was compromised a lot on strategy. Started 17th, but did get up to 16th as well. Your rating?
Well, you've got to, actually. Everybody knows that the way Robert, because of his injury, he has to pull it down with his left hand, the steering wheel, and then push up with his right hand to get it round the corners.
Yeah.
Your things. So he's not going to be able to go as deep as other people. If you know that about a driver, then why do you drive into him?
Yeah, at Rascasse.
You know, at Rascasse, he did it. It was his. It was the Money Boy's fault.
Yeah, you called it in commentary about how he couldn't catch it with his hand. So Stroll's rating quickly, then we'll get Kubica.
1.
Kimi Raikkonen on his 300th Grand Prix start finished 17th and a lap down. A poor race from Raikkonen as we see him on the screen. How he went down actually, lost time because he lost it at the first lap at Lowe's hairpin. Rating?
Kimi gets 1 point.
Not surprising. I do remember Kimi as well in 2006. The car retiring, going off to his boat.
Retiring, right? They are not motivating Kimi.
No, they are not.
Kimi looks more bored this year. To be honest, right? That I saw him at the press conference and today for the Canadian Grand Prix because we're doing this a bit late because we've been ill.
Everyone's been ill.
Yeah. So, but I saw him at the press conference, and Joshua's mum even said, "Look at Kimi; he's just staring into space."
Yes, yeah, I noticed that as well. Everyone was just sort of not blinking. It was like they were really bored, and yes, Kimi especially.
She said, "Does that guy ever blink?"
Yeah,
because he's totally zoned out, right? And the one thing that Ferrari always found out with him was you've got to motivate that guy.
Yeah, and they're just not, and that's a problem for Kimi. Robert Kubica 18th. Now we know why he went down so far because he got punted round at Rascasse. Not his fault.
To his car.
Damages to his car as well. Yeah. So rating?
For sheer effort, 3.
And Antonio Giovinazzi was 2 laps down in 19th as well. Caused that collision as well with Stroll and everyone and Leclerc at Rascasse. Rating for Giovinazzi?
Giovinazzi. Right. I'll tell you what. Giovinazzi 2. Because of the fact the kid's learning. It's like a goalkeeper in football. The England goalkeeper in football, right? He's going to make mistakes because he's in his 20s, early 20s, right? And it's the same with the Formula One. You can give all the youngsters a little leeway because they're going to make mistakes. How else do they learn?
Exactly. Charles Leclerc was the only retirement in that race and does finish 20th. He retired lap 18 with floor damage after the puncture, and he was making brilliant moves. He's remembered what his godfather Joe Bianchi did at Rascasse, launching up the inside. He made it stick on Grosjean, tried it on Hulkenberg, and it failed and he hit the wall and broke the car. But heartbreak for Leclerc. We talked about it earlier on.
Leclerc's got to learn to zone out because of the fact that he's on that screen right now.
Yeah, we're watching a rerun of the race in front of us.
And, we all know his talent, but he's just not thinking. He's just not keeping concentration, right? He needs to zone out and just do his race, right? Otherwise, he'll be another Vettel. All talent and all crashability, whatever the words are.
Yeah, I can't remember either. Sorry if you just had a notification. I should have put it on silent. I'm suffering from what Crofty does usually. Leclerc's actually on our screen now. He started P15, got all the way up to P12 behind Hülkenberg, then hit the wall and crashed out. Was involved in that near red flag. But poor race for Charles, and he was racing with a tribute helmet, one side for Jules Bianchi, one side for his father. And you've just got to admit, it was heartbreaking to watch, especially after qualifying.
Yeah, actually, Jules' his father, and
Charles' father.
And Charles' father, right? Jules and Charles' father were great friends. Used to drive together in the early days, and families are so close. And as he's just said, Jules was actually the godfather of him. But since Charles's father died, right, Jules' dad has taken over as the uncle with the arm round the shoulders, and he was there to support him. Yeah. And I'm sure the first thing he would have said was, "There's next year."
And I've got a feeling that he will win next year. I said it coming to this weekend. That Charles could have won this weekend. He could have, but Ferrari put the strategy. Then he made mistakes in the race.
It was Charles. Most of the mistakes this weekend, you can usually blame it on Ferrari, right? But don't you think that most of the mistakes were Charles rushing things?
Oh yeah, definitely in the race as well. And that's driver rating, because we have to give a rating even though he's out of the race.
1.
And that's it. Right, Canadian Grand Prix next. Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, new pit complex been built, new commentary box areas and all that lot. And the track does look a little different. It's same layout, but they have tweaked some of the corners with some new tarmac. They've reduced some of the bumps. It does look quite interesting, but it's always one of my favourite races of the year.
Yeah, but I'm predicting McLaren might win this year.
Really?
Yeah, the RAF race.
Oh yeah, good point. Raft race. Is that today? Is that tonight? Is that Friday or is it Saturday?
I don't know, but it's good fun.
Yeah.
We used to have RAF races in our dock.
Did we? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, we used to near where Sainsbury's is. You know, near where the Windsor Castle.
Yeah.
Castle used to be, and that. We used to have RAF races up and down that dock.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh well. Right, I'm being given the signal because we've been talking now for 41 minutes on this part, and the podcast is already, I think we've gone well over an hour again.
I'm sorry for going over, but, at the end of the day, but dear boy, hello, my name is James, how do you do?
More James Hand impressions. He's the man of impressions. Let's get predictions in for the Canadian Grand Prix then. Mercedes bringing new engines. Ferrari have already had their engines since Spain, so... let's have top 3 race predictions.
For what?
The Canadian Grand Prix.
For the teams or the drivers?
Drivers.
I think Lewis and Valtteri will be up there again. I think Verstappen thinks... If you're looking for somebody I think might do well this weekend, right, this might be a better track for McLaren, and it definitely might be a better track for Haas.
Excellent, and I think it's going to be another Mercedes walkthrough. Hamilton's won there 6 times. But that's it for the Grand Review podcast. We'll be back at the Canadian Grand Prix, slightly later times to get used to. The Thursday preview will be on at 10 o'clock. The Friday practice review will be at 11:30 due to the late time. The Saturday practice review will be taken through very much later. That will be at 5. That will be at 8:30 after qualifying. So delayed of that, and the Sunday race preview will be at 4 o'clock UK time.
Well, anybody who is actually at the track, this is the only track other than Silverstone where you can get British fish and chips.
True, very true. Probably you can just catch them in the river.
No, just near the entrance. There's that shop, because it's usually a park. It's a fish and there's a proper English fish and chip shop, right? Scraps and everything, just as you come in near the entrance.
So, yep, go and get some British fish and chips and watch the Canadian Grand Prix. It's going to be another classic one. Very late schedule, but it's one of my favourites, and it's bound to be a classic. But from us all here, I don't think you're commentating on Canada, but I don't think you're in the podcast because I think Megan's back, but we'll try and get a word from you. But we'll all be back at the Canadian Grand Prix. Dad will be in the commentary. Megan returns as well, and we'll all reunite on the podcast in 2 weeks' time as we see Leclerc's move at Rascasse finally catch up with us. But from us all here, bye for now.